All right, here we go. T-Wolves lose to the Lakers in La La Land, 120-109. I got the expert, Jack Borman. He's going to help us break it all down. It's all coming up next on the Locked On Wolves POSTCAST.
You are Locked On Wolves POSTCAST, part of Locked On Minnesota on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up? What's up? Back in the lab, back at it. Another T-Wolves POSTCAST episode right here on the Locked On Sports Minnesota Network. You got myself, Luke Inman, at Luke_Spinman. That's the man, Jack Borman. He's on Twitter, at JRBorman13. And Jack, before we jump into all the action, quick reminder, tonight's episode brought to us by LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your jobs for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, buddy. It was Oscars night tonight, but the real show, that went down at Crypto.com Arena with the Wolves taking on the Lakers. And I know the box score won't show it, but for 3 straight quarters, man, this was a great back and forth contest. Wolves go into halftime down just 1. Even though the Lakers were shooting, 76%, the Wolves had the 8-0 advantage in second chance points. That kept them in it. Naz Reid, he goes crazy once again. He stepped up his game even more so without Cat out these last few games. Fourth quarter, though, I mean, that's what this all boils down to. That's the A topic. That changed the outcome in a big way in this one. Wolves just couldn't buy a bucket. They went ice cold shooting, and they lose to the Lakers tonight, 120-109. They now drop to third place in the Western Conference. Kick us off, Jack. What's your biggest takeaways from this one tonight?
Yeah, no doubt. It's got to be Naz Reid is right there off the top. Finishes 25 points, 9 of 17 shooting, 5 of 10 from 3, 5 rebounds, 4 blocks, 3 assists. And 21 of those came in the first half. Another huge first half for Naz Reid on 7 of 10 field goals and hit 5 threes after a career high tying 7 threes in Cleveland. Had 5 in the first half. So at halftime, if you just looked at the last 6 quarters for Naz Reid, had 65 points on 17 of 28 shooting and 12 of 18 from 3. Wow. And I mean, that's just a monster number. I don't care who they're playing. I don't care who else is not playing for the Timberwolves. I mean, regardless, you got to go out there and you got to make plays, right? And certainly for Naz Reid, I think that that was huge for him to be able to do that. And then the Timberwolves defense just didn't have anything for Anthony Davis, right? I mean, you could tell that the Timberwolves were blitzing early with Naz Reid playing at the 5, just because playing drop coverage is just not his strong suit, not something the Timberwolves are well equipped to do without Rudy Gobert in the game. And the Wolves just got cooked in pick and roll early in this game, whether it was lob dunks to Jackson Hayes or Anthony Davis just being late on low man help rotations. You could just tell that they didn't have a whole lot of confidence because they hadn't really practiced that a whole lot. And so they went back to more of a switching concept and threw some zone in there starting midway through the second quarter and found more success. Certainly, no question about it. And I think the Timberwolves were just confident in themselves to be able to play defense straight up in those situations. And, but yeah, Anthony Davis was just way too much in this game. He had 27 points on 17 shots. He had 25 rebounds, 10 of which were offensive. The Wolves only had 11 offensive rebounds by themselves in this game. And Anthony Davis got to the free throw line as many times as the Timberwolves did, 13-13. But unlike Friday night's game, it really didn't feel like the refereeing was a problem for the majority of this game. I mean, the Lakers are number 1 in the league in free throw, are right up there in the league in terms of free throw attempts. I think they're number 1. I know that they are number 1 in fewest free throws allowed, though, and they are number 1 in free throw differential this season by quite a wide margin. So it's not really to be unexpected that the Lakers really take this one in the free throw category, but for AD to have as many as the Timberwolves as a team, certainly you'd just like to see the Timberwolves be more aggressive in the paint, right? And I mean, that was just a byproduct of the Timberwolves not really having a rim protector and the Lakers having the second best rim protector in the league. And I mean, the Lakers shot 26 of 31. That's 84% at the rim tonight, which was just incredible. And for the Timberwolves, it took just 15 shots at the rim, went 10 of 15. And so, for the Wolves to really be living in that short mid-range area is not a place that they want to be. So yeah, I mean, you just got cooked, and then it was just the spurt ability for the Lakers, right? They had an 11-2 run to start both the third quarter and the fourth quarter. LeBron James had his fingerprints all over it. He scored the first 11 points of the third quarter for the Lakers. But the Wolves, you got to give them credit for the way that they responded, right? They found themselves in a 13-point hole. Nikhil Alexander-Walker hits back-to-back threes, and then Ant just kind of takes the reins and takes over this game. He had 10 points in the back half of that third quarter, had a huge block on Anthony Davis after almost killing him on what would have been the dunk of the year, probably the best dunk we've seen since Anthony Edwards entered the league 4 years ago. And then ended the quarter on a 22-8 run in the third quarter. Only 11 points allowed in the last 8 minutes of the quarter. And they held the Lakers to just 36% shooting in that quarter, which was pretty big after allowing them to shoot 67% in the first half, which is kind of get whatever they wanted to, play at whatever pace they wanted to, get out and run in transition. It was just a super chaotic first half. And then, it was just the Lakers really took control in that fourth quarter, right? I mean, you had a missed call on LeBron on Luka on that layup, and then TJ Warren missed a bunny, Mike missed a layup, and they gave up 3 transition layups, and the crowd totally got into it. And starting 0 of 9 in the fourth quarter certainly did not help. The first basket came 5 minutes and 16 seconds into the quarter. That's never a good recipe, especially when you're going up against a team that's been as hot as the Lakers have been. I mean, they've been the number one offense in the league for almost 2 months now, and they're really clicking and firing on all cylinders. I mean, you look at just their scoring averages for guys like Hachimura and Reeves and Russell are all at or right near 20 points a game over the last 10, 15 games. And, if you can't score baskets to keep up with them like the Wolves did, you're just really going to struggle. And we'll get into it a little bit with how they're able to keep pace for as long as they did. But, when you give up 29 to LeBron, 9 assists to LeBron, and then 27 points and 25 rebounds to Anthony Davis, it's just tough. But hey,
that's
unheard of. Yeah. You can't really blame the Wolves considering the personnel they have on the floor tonight.
Well, that's the thing too. And let me shout out our guy, RP, Random Planet. Wolves playing third and 4 nights on the road, missing Cat, missing Gobert, Slow-Mo, Monte Morris, playing only 8 players, having to give minutes to Luka Garza for the first time in weeks. And dude, I think he's right. Like, let me pop that back up there. I think he's right. Like 4 back-to-backs in 9 games. I mean, you look back at those 7 home games, and I said it at the time. You look back now, and I think that did them a huge disadvantage unless they were able to cash in more and take better opportunities and advantage of that. Instead, they go 4-3. But now to come back with 6 straight on the road and so many games in so many nights, just bang, 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 one after the other. There's times now between these injuries and everything else, they just look flat out shot. They just look flat out fatigued, out of sync at the end of some of these really close games. I mean, think about, we've lost 2 overtime games in the past, 10 days or so. And that's really, again, in crunch time when you need these guys to step up the most. So I guess knowing all that, how much weight or stock, I guess, do you put into a game like this? Obviously it hurts, but considering everything that was going against them coming in on paper, do you lean more into the positives and just kind of take your lumps and move on? Or does this one just sting no matter what?
No, it doesn't sting at all for me. I mean, if I'm a Timberwolves player, unless you're Jaden McDaniels, and we'll get into that, you can't feel bad about the way that you played in this game. But hey, I mean, you look at the standings. I mean, if the Timberwolves lose to the Clippers on Tuesday night, they're going to be just 1 game clear of the Clippers, and otherwise they'll be in that 4 spot. And you can make a halfway decent argument that it could end up being better for the Timberwolves to be the 3 seed or the 4 seed, depending on how the table shakes out here.
Yeah.
But with the way the Lakers are playing, the Lakers are only a game and a half behind Sacramento, who's the 7 seed, and they could very well play themselves up to the 6 line or even the 5 line over the last 18, 19 games here if they just keep rattling off wins. But Yeah, I just don't think you can feel bad at all given the personnel, right? And I was shocked that Anthony Edwards played in this game. I think the only reason Anthony Edwards played in this game was because it was an ESPN game. If you're already punting on, not playing Kyle Anderson, who wasn't in the status report yesterday, Rudy Gobert wasn't in the status report yesterday. I mean, the Timberwolves had to have known that those guys were not playing yesterday, and just waited to update the status report today. If you're going to punt, essentially, thinking that LeBron and AD will both be playing in this game, I just don't know why you trotted Ant out there other than to avoid a fine. But
okay. I want to talk about the implications in the West now moving forward. I do want to talk about TJ Warren, the bench play a little bit later on as well. But in the honor of Oscars night in LA, they were in LA tonight, man. Even though they lost, I know. Let's hand out 2 quick awards. Best Supporting Actor. Which non-starter impressed you the most tonight? Kind of kept the Wolves in this one more than you thought they would.
Yeah, it's got to be Jordan McLaughlin, right? Made a career high tying 4 threes tonight off the bench. He's now shooting like 43.5% from 3 this season. And if you would have told me that coming into the season that Jordan McLaughlin would do that, I would have been over the moon, because it just means that he's in the rotation. He's playing meaningful minutes. He's in rhythm. And he's just confident in his offensive play, right? So that's got to be number one for me, for him to lead the way off the bench and take all of his shots from beyond the arc, which was really smart and great for him.
Yeah, they needed that big time. Best cinematography. We'll call that the best highlight play of the night for the Wolves. Obviously, oh man, we were so close to having another unbelievable highlight reel dunk from Ant that you already called out. But what other just kind of highlight play sticks out for you tonight?
It's got to be the block on Anthony Davis for Ant, right? And then that almost block on Anthony Davis for Jaden that they called a goaltend. I thought both of those blocks were absolutely phenomenal. I also loved Naz Reid just throwing the ball forward in the half court to get by 2 defenders and then just laying the ball in. I mean, he was just making stuff up on the fly. But
best hair and makeup, that goes to Cat. He wins that. He was dripping on the bench, man. I think they said he went to Paris or something last summer. You could tell, man. He was just dripping head to toe in LA. He was loving it. Who's the one guy now that needs to step up and just play better basketball than we've gotten if the Wolves are going to hold on to one of these top seeds in the West without obviously Karl Anthony Towns now in the mix? And it can be as simple as, Anthony Edwards or someone else who's going to have a bigger opportunity now and needs to cash in with it.
It's got to be Jaden McDaniels, right? He only had 10 points on 5 of 17 shooting. He had 5 wider than wide open threes tonight. He missed all of them. I think Anthony Edwards has probably got to be a little frustrated with how many open opportunities he's creating for Jaden McDaniels. I think a lot of people have been calling for Jaden McDaniels to get more opportunities, to touch the ball more, to have more scoring opportunities. And he's certainly had them. He certainly had them tonight. He certainly had them against Cleveland, and he shot a combined 10 of 28 from the floor in those 2 games, and just 1 of 9 from 3, and he's only gotten to the line 3 times. It's just Jaden's out of excuses, man. Simple as that. And I know that the contract extension is not kicked in this season, but at a certain extent, you can't keep hiding behind the role, or that it's only year 4. He's only 22 or he's only 23. I mean, he is so talented, and he has flashed all of his talent at different points, and he just has not been able to string it together. And it's a little dumbfounding at a certain point that Jaden can't string games together, especially offensively. I don't know if it's a confidence thing, if it's a mental thing, if the fact that his role, I guess, is changing a little bit from night to night. But at the end of the day, it's just basketball, right? Go ask Naz Reid. Naz Reid's role has changed a ton, and he's found ways to just continually be successful. Is Naz Reid more talented than Jaden McDaniels is offensively? Absolutely not. Jaden McDaniels can do just about everything that Naz Reid can, and has kind of more options available to him with his length. He's been a better shooter historically than Naz Reid has. He's certainly been a better defender than Naz Reid has historically, and Naz Reid is outplaying him on both ends of the floor. Simple as that. And if the Timberwolves want to hold on to a top 3 seed, Jaden McDaniels just has to play better. He has to give them 15 to 17 points a game without Karl Anthony Towns, and he's invisible out on the floor offensively sometimes. And he got benched for TJ Warren, who's on a 10-day contract in the last 7 minutes of this game. I don't know if Jaden was just tired or what the deal was, but for him to get benched for a guy in a 10-day contract in any game, I don't care what the circumstances are, is not great. And, it's just hard to continue to see Jaden play this way and continue to see how shorthanded the Timberwolves are. And there be opportunities for him there and for him to just not be able to grab them. And even in games when he's been somewhat efficient, I mean, against Indiana, he had 11 points on 7 shots, but you would like to see him take more than 7 shots, and it's just, I don't know what it is. I don't know how you can go about solving the problem for the Timberwolves, because the opportunities are there for him. You can maybe call more plays for him, running out of the corner, get him on, some pin down curl actions where he can get the ball with a head of steam going to the rim. I don't know if he's not really a guy that you're going to get out in isolation much. So I don't know if you maybe get him as a pick and roller and hit him on the short roll and get him into that free throw line area. And he can take that little mid-range shot that he likes to take. You'd hope that he'd be able to cash in a few more times in transition now that the Wolves are playing a little bit smaller and are going to be able to get out and push the pace and run. But it's got to turn around, and it's got to turn around quickly if the Timberwolves want to be able to stay on this pace that they're on without Karl-Anthony Towns. Otherwise, the 4 seed is certainly in play. Whew. And, depending on how long Rudy Gobert misses with this hamstring injury, I mean,
yeah, life is coming at the Wolves fast right now. Life is coming at them fast and furious for sure. Let's keep talking about that. Plenty more deep dive on the Wolves' new spot in the West. That's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, tonight's episode brought to you by LinkedIn. Guys, when you start hiring for your small businesses, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the job, right? Well, then LinkedIn Jobs is a no-brainer, because LinkedIn Jobs has the tools you need to help find the right professionals for your team faster, and it's for free. Now, I know when it comes to hiring, there's so many options to choose from, but LinkedIn isn't just another job board. It's the only job board, because they've got the biggest network to choose from with more than 1 billion professionals. And that's what makes LinkedIn the best and only place to hire. At the end of the day, LinkedIn is going to give you access to professionals you just can't find anywhere else. And they do all that while also making the process easy and intuitive. Think about it. Hiring for your next job is going to be easy when you have hundreds of quality candidates, right? So easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate match within just 24 hours. So it's time to join the 2.5 million small businesses that are already using LinkedIn for hiring. Try it today. Post your job for free. LinkedIn.com/LockedOnNBA. That's LinkedIn.com/LockedOnNBA to post your job for free. LinkedIn, terms and conditions apply. All right, more on the offense here. And, okay, he's the main ball handler tonight, as he should be. Sometimes it works, sometimes it didn't. They shot a lot of threes, as you mentioned. And, as you also mentioned in the first segment, Jaden was just flat out, just not good tonight, just flat out. Final thoughts, I guess, kind of last chance to vent, I guess, before we move on. Final observations on the offense tonight and what it needs to look like moving forward.
Yeah, I think the Timberwolves process was right in a game like this. I think when you're undermanned, you're undergunned, you just don't have the same amount of firepower that your opponent has. Mm-hmm. If you've got personnel that can shoot threes, I mean, if you can just on some level turn the game into a math equation, either try to play at a much faster pace and shoot a ton of threes and get out and run and try to tire out your opponent, or on the other end, and just kind of drag them down into the mud and make it a possessions game. Mm-hmm. The Timberwolves certainly chose the former in this game. And when you look at the Timberwolves' last 2 games, they shot 8 of 30 from 3 against Cleveland, 27%, and against Indiana, they shot 7 of 25 from 3, 28%. And tonight in the first half, they shot 10 of 24, 42%. So for the Timberwolves to basically, outdo their production in their last 2 games just in the first half alone tonight, I think was fantastic. And then they ended up shooting 46 threes tonight, which is the second most that they've shot all season. And the other time that they shot, or the game in which they shot the most threes, was that Boston overtime game, right? It was another game where you're undermanned. Right. Yeah. You're on the road against a tough opponent with big time star power, and you just kind of got to try to outshoot him as best you can. But in this game, especially, I think this was a byproduct of the Timberwolves just running a ton of pick and roll, getting Ant in isolation, trying to get him, with a spaced out floor around him so he can spray the ball out to shooters and they can make extra passes, play off the catch, keep the defense in rotation. And they certainly did that. I think Ant had 7 assists, but I'm really curious to see what that potential assist number is going to be. So a potential assist is basically a pass that a player makes that would have counted as an assist had that shot gone in.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't be surprised if that potential assist number is close to 15 or 16 in this game.
Wow.
He created a lot of really good looks. The Lakers defense obviously loaded up on him and wanted to make anyone else beat them. And he did a great job of finding Naz Reid and keeping Naz Reid involved. Again, like I said, created some open looks for Jaden that he wasn't able to knock down. And again, this is where Jordan McLaughlin stepped up in a big way too, had a couple of catch and shoot threes, that went down as well. And so for Anthony Edwards, I think for him to get 7 assists as a night as a lead ball handler, I think is great. He created 4 threes, 3 2-pointers. And again, he's had a really strong connection with Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and 3 of those 7 assists were on passes to Nickeil. And for Ant to create 18 points off of assists and then score 25, I think creating 43 points overall is a really good number for him, especially without Karl, without Rudy. I think you'd like to see Ant be able to score the ball a little bit more, but it's just tough when he ended up having to play in isolation as much as he did and having to see a crowd and wasn't able to get to the free throw line. I think there were probably two calls that he didn't get that he probably should have gotten that would have gotten him up to the 7-8 range in free throws attempted, but just 4 free throws for Ant. I think that's a little bit of money that he left on the table. But when you go from having one of the greatest screen setters of all time and Rudy Gobert that just creates a runway for Ant to attack the paint and get inside, you don't have Rudy Gobert tonight, and you're going against an elite rim protector in Anthony Davis who does a great job of not fouling. I think that's kind of a recipe for Ant to have fewer free throws in this game. But overall, I think you've got to be pleased with Ant to do that. He had 7 assists, 3 turnovers, and 2 of those turnovers were just trying to dance on Anthony Davis in isolation, and he lost control of the ball. Not things that you're certainly worried about long term. But yeah, and then the other note that we haven't really hit on, I guess so far, is Luka Garza got into the rotation tonight. Obviously made sense without Kyle Anderson. And
he
Rudy
was
Gobert.
In play for Best Supporting Actor tonight, right? When we handed out our Oscar award, he was in
for the Lakers,
mix, right?
Best Supporting Actor for Anthony Davis, maybe.
Yeah, right.
I think the first 30 seconds Luka Garza was in the game was a good, I guess, little game summary or preview of what we were going to see. In that he made a 3 on his first play of the game, and then he got destroyed on a pick and roll at the rim for 2 points. And that's pretty much it, right? He's a really strong offensive contributor that can heat up quickly and get you buckets on the offensive end of the floor, that can battle on the offensive glass, but is just going to get torched on the defensive end, and that's the reality. And that's why he only played 10 minutes, even though he was pretty impactful offensively right away. And the Lakers just really targeted him with Anthony Davis and with Jackson Hayes on the roll. They found him almost every single time Luka was in the game, and again, just struggled to keep his matchup off the glass, and struggled to keep his matchup off the glass when his matchup didn't score. And so I think that's why you only saw Luka Garza play 10 minutes, and it was essentially a 7-man rotation tonight. And it's why you saw Naz play 42 minutes, Ant play 40, Nickeil play 39, Jaden play 32. I mean, that was essentially a playoff rotation, I guess, in terms of minutes allotment for the Timberwolves tonight, but obviously didn't have the personnel that they'd like to have in a playoff game. But certainly encouraging to see Luka come in and make an impact offensively and make a shot right away and inject a little bit of life into the offense. And I think Chris Finch did a good job of kind of picking his spots of when to deploy Luka Garza. He didn't keep him out there for too long, where the Lakers were really able to, get an offensive rhythm and just continually hammer him over and over and over and over again for a 6 or 7 minute stretch where they just go on a 17-5 run or something like that. And, I think the downfalls of Luka defensively, especially are why, he just hasn't gotten much of an opportunity so far in his NBA career, despite crushing in the G League. And it just, I guess outside of this game specifically, it just brings up a tough reality that sometimes you're just way too good to play in the G League and not good enough to consistently play in the NBA. And that's kind of where Luka Garza finds himself right now. And it's unfortunate because he probably just wants to play basketball. He's done an incredible job working on his body to try to get into NBA shape, become more mobile. And while still maintaining a lot of the strength that he showed in college, especially down on the low block, but there's just not a place for him to live consistently right now. And I'm sure that's got to be tough considering all the hard work that he's put in and everything that he's done to earn where he's at right now.
Yeah, for sure. A guy that everybody's kind of been rooting for, way in the back of your mind. But certainly, as you said, proof's in the pudding so far. And thus far, just doesn't feel like he's going to be able to stick around long term. That's for sure. All right, stick around. We're going to preview this huge Clippers game coming up Sunday night. That's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, tonight's episode brought to you by Prize Picks. Guys, Prize Picks is without a doubt the most fun I've had playing daily fantasy because you can win up to 100 times your money this basketball season. That means with as little as 4 correct picks, you can turn your $10 into $1,000. And it's so easy to play. I can make my picks, submit an entry in less than 60 seconds. Prize Picks also now offers Apple Pay for quick and easy deposits into your account all season long. And here's my favorite part. With the Prize Picks reboot policy, your entries stay in play, even if one of your players gets injured. That makes Prize Picks the only daily fantasy platform around that offers you that extra injury insurance to give you that extra peace of mind. Right now, go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. That's promo code LockedOnNBA at prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA for a 100% bonus match up to $100. All right, let's close out with a little preview for this next matchup versus the Clippers. This is going to be their 4th and final game versus the Clippers we've gotten so far, at least as the regular season goes. Wolves are 2-1 so far this year. They did lose the most recent matchup just last week on March 3rd by a score of 89-88. So really tight. That one came down to the end. I know they lost to Milwaukee tonight, 124-117, but quick scouting report. I know we've seen these guys quite a bit, but how have they been playing as of late? And what do the Wolves need to do now with no Cat to come out with a dub?
Yeah, I mean, the Clippers are just 6-5 since the Wolves beat them back on February 12th. And very easily could be 5-6 as a result of that game that we had, just last week. And I think for the Wolves, it's going to be about whether Rudy Gobert plays or not, right? I mean, the Clippers have been, one of the best 3 offenses in the league pretty much the entire season, really, especially since James Harden got there. They've really taken it to another level. But they haven't scored more than 105 points in a game against the Timberwolves this season. And the Timberwolves have really dominated, the majority of these 3 games, I think. And I don't have the stats in front of me to look at, what percentage of those 3 games they've let in, but you'd certainly think it's north of 75%. And they've really controlled the tempo in those games. They've slowed it down. They made it a half-court game, and their half-court defense has been better than Clippers' half-court offense. And a big reason why is because they've been able to shut down Paul George in those games. We've talked about on this show before that, Paul George is the guy that I would look at to try to take out of the game because his, splits and, his performance in wins versus his wins and losses are significantly different. Whereas Kawhi Leonard and James Harden are a lot more consistent, whether they win or lose, and aren't quite as much a barometer for the outcome of the game like Paul George is. And Paul George has been really inconsistent for the Clippers. I think when you look at his stretches of 10 games or 15 games or 20 games, his numbers look okay, but just pretty inconsistent from game to game. And the same can be said for James Harden too, especially as a scorer. And I think, especially now with the way the Clippers have kind of been playing some guys, playing other guys, they've been messing around with the rotation since Russell Westbrook broke his hand. Mason Plumlee and Amir Coffey have been in and out. They've played around with, having to have Daniel Tice miss a couple games. I think Kawhi and PG have each missed a couple games in the last 10. So how much they can get out of guys like Bones Highland and Amir Coffey and Mason Plumlee, I believe. Mason Miles, I can never keep the 2 Plumlee brothers straight. Mason Plumlee, how much they can get out of those 3 guys. Is PJ Tucker going to play? I think those four guys will really go a long way in determining how the Clippers do in this game. If the Wolves are to get Rudy Gobert and Kyle Anderson back, I'd presume those guys play in that game, especially considering we didn't hear anything about those guys not being right physically after the Cleveland game. So, if Rudy Gobert is able to play, the Timberwolves can run a ton of spread pick and roll, try to get the ball moving, hit the corners, get the ball in rotation, force this Clippers team to really fly around and defend. And it's going to be really interesting to see, how the Clippers hold up when they run a ton of spread pick and roll and get the ball moving around. And I'm just really interested to see if you can isolate guys like James Harden and Amir Coffey defensively, see what they can do and force those guys to get stops in the defensive perimeter. And if they can't, and Bones Highland too. And if they can, I think the Wolves should have a good time creating out of pick and roll and creating more corner 3-point shots that they've been able to do here in the last few games with that pick and roll frequency going up.
Yeah, that's a great breakdown there. Can't wait for that game. That's going to be huge. Last one, we got to get out of here, but just real quick, any idea why Cat was in LA instead of, maybe getting the surgery? Did he already get the surgery? What's going on? I know it's been a couple days and I'm kind of out of the loop. Any news on that front?
Yeah, I'm not sure, frankly. I have no idea. I know the surgery he's getting or has gotten, I don't know if he's gotten it, is the meniscus
Sometimes
trim.
you can't have the surgery, I know, until you got to let that thing heal a little bit
or
first.
swell a little bit.
Yeah.
So it certainly could be a situation like that. I'm not entirely sure. But
I guess why are you flying, though, if that is the case? Why are you doing all the traveling back and forth? Why not just ice up, just heal up, and just let it do its thing, I guess? I don't know.
I am not a doctor, surprisingly.
What?
I know that.
And the award for Best Doctor of the Year goes to Jack Borman.
Yeah, and the Timberwolves release that I just pulled up from March 7th, a few days ago, it said that Towns will undergo surgery early next week. So I would presume that he is going to get the surgery in LA then, if it means early next week, because the Timberwolves are going to be on the road the whole time. Okay. I know that Carl spends his off seasons in Los Angeles. I know his girlfriend is based out of Los Angeles. So there's certainly, an opportunity to see some familiar faces while he's in Los Angeles. But, there's obviously a whole host of medical, teams and all the sorts of things, surgeons, specialty doctors, all those types of people that are based in Los Angeles as well. So you have no idea who's doing the surgery, but given that the Wolves are going to have 4 days in LA, it makes sense that he'd be there and spend some time with the team and people that he knows. So we'll see, but it doesn't change the timeline for him. He'll be reevaluated in about 3.5 weeks here. So it'll be about 3 weeks post surgery. So
fair enough. All right. Wolves dropped their second in a row now. They've now dropped to third place in the West for the first time in months. 3 more road games to go. Another big one in LA versus the Clippers this Tuesday. Tip off for that one, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. As always, huge shout out to everyone that joined us on the stream. You guys are the absolute best. Rest assured, we'll be back each and every game, same time, same place, right here to break it all down. Quick reminder, go check out all of Jack's work on Twitter at JRBorman13, and make sure you check out the entire crew on the Minnesota basketball party. That's each and every Wednesday. Sam Ekstrom hosting, Gophers legend Ron Johnson, Carol Evans, Reggie Wilson, plus Ben Beacon, always ripping it up over on the Locked On Wolves podcast. That's each and every day as well. That'll do it for us tonight. He's Jack Borman. I'm Luke Inman on Twitter at Luke_Spinman. Until next time, signing out.